Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday, and welcome back to another live Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, wherever you are around the world, with Gordana and myself. How are you?
Hi, Lucas. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday Live today. We are going to talk about how to be less reactive and more present and intentional in a time of change. And we're going to focus on the cyclic rhythm of nature and how it all kind of goes in waves, and how to ride the waves instead of becoming the waves and thinking that we're in pain all the time. This too shall pass. This is something that we're going to talk much about this Sunday. And I'm so excited for this because it's such a beautiful law to talk about, the law of movement, the law of rhythm, the law of cyclic nature of this reality. So, I hope you will enjoy it today, everyone.
I'm so excited. You and I live very close to the same parallel on the earth. I live in Seattle, you're in Sweden. And so we experience longer summers, shorter winters. And I was thinking about rhythm of day and night, the seasons, but also the years where our days might be shorter during the winter and longer during the summer. And that this rhythm, if we're always in fear and we're looking for an answer now, we miss the rhythm. And so the years rhythm, the centuries rhythm, you just keep expanding out. The rhythm is always here, present with us. And if we surrender to what is, then there's nothing to fear except be in alignment with this rhythm. But those that fight the rhythm, those that are trying to control something that cannot be controlled, first of all, and doesn't need to be controlled, will be out of alignment to this great rhythm that we are in. So I'm glad we're talking about it today. It's very important.
Absolutely. It's about understanding that everything is made of energies. So everything around us, I mean, we have a body, there are celestial bodies, and everything is sending energies, and it's all cyclic. If we look at the sun, I mean, the planets are circling around the sun. So of course there will be energies returning. Like we had this Perseids, the meteorite. What was it? A couple of days ago, the Earth was going through the meteorite rain of the plate. I can't even talk right now. Perseids, that's the name. I'm always trying to say the Pleiades, but it's Perseid. And it's the same thing. This comet leaves its trail, and every year we go through this trail, and it's the same thing every year we come back to it. It's like, if we know this, then we will not be shocked every time we reach this place in time and space. We know what's coming, so we can rest and trust that everything is going to be well. But if we don't know that, if we do not understand that there is a certain rhythm in everything, everything is in motion. In the physical world, everything is in motion, which means that there has to be some kind of rhythm in it. Our heart beats, rhythm. We breathe in and out, rhythm. The waves in the sea, back and forth, rhythm. There's rhythm everywhere. So if we know that everything comes and goes, we can rest. When there is pain, we can rest that there will be no pain further on in time, so to speak. So not jumping into it, not becoming the pain, becoming the wave, instead staying still and waiting it to pass. This is what this too shall pass means. It actually talks about this infinite rhythm, that everything is changing all the time into different shapes, but it has a cyclic nature. It comes back like night and day. And you were talking about the seasons. It's the same thing. It's about knowledge to understand how things work.
Mm,
I think that when we live in a city, we don't even see the moon go up. We don't know, we kind
right,
of disconnect from this rhythm,
right.
and we become lonely.
Mm,
And it's like being a wave in the ocean and going back and forth, not knowing that you are the ocean. So
mm,
if you know that there will be, after night comes day, we know that,
yes,
but still being in this now moment and understanding that if I just trust, everything will fall in place again,
yes,
because there is a rhythm, there is a law, it will always return to its natural state of being.
that's right.
So I think that just being present in that knowingness that everything has a certain rhythm can help us become more balanced.
Yes.
Mm.
Balance is it, everything, everything is returning to balance. And this, talking about the law of rhythm and understanding this, part of it's beautiful when we surrender to it and we come back and center and allow it to pass and allow it to move. And if there's pain, there will be no pain, be it healing or
Yes.
no longer feeling it. If there's night, there's day. And also in wisdom, as a warning to the new observer of this rhythm, do not push and
Mm.
do not thrust something forward that is out of the cadence, because it will always return back. And so the force applied will bring back the force coming back to the person. So it's the pendulum swing. If you push that swing out, it will come back just that much faster, just that much
Mm.
harder. And regardless of what it is, whether it's society, whether it's culture, whether it's personal, whether we want a goal so badly, we don't need to push. We just get to be and surrender to it. And I think history has shown us. I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we were talking about this book called Last Stand, and it was about all the last stands of battles where, like,
Mm.
Thermopylae and the Army of 300 with Leonidas and the,
Mm.
all these different last stands. And it was talking
Mm.
about knowing what you're fighting for, knowing what you're living for, like giving everything. And these are good in human history because it centers humanity to reflect on, well, what was this? But he was going through all these different wars throughout time, all the way up to the Korean War in the
Mm.
1950s. I thought, this always happens.
Mhm.
This is also a rhythm. This is a bizarre
Mhm.
rhythm that he's talking about. Because in anticipation of our live today, I'm thinking, here this book chronicles thousands of years of the exact same thing. And I thought,
Mm.
when will humanity stop pushing this?
Learn.
Yeah, when will we learn? When
Yeah.
will we learn just to be in love?
I think that the pushing, the pendulum can take many different shapes. And when you try to control another human being, another country, another nation, another continent, whatever it may be, you might experience that, oh, we're winning, everything is fine. But as you said, the counter movement back will
Yes.
be so harsh and hard because it doesn't follow the natural rhythm, the natural flow of that energy.
Mm,
As soon as we start thinking that we can control something that is outside of us, specifically other human beings, we
yes.
can't, because there's another law working here, and you cannot go against free will. Every single human being has a free will. So if you go against it, you will experience pain, because it's a
Yes.
natural way of balancing this push, which is unnatural. So
Mm,
if you follow the natural push, like flow and back again, you will be able to explore life less painfully. But if you start pushing and pulling and trying to control stuff, that is when it comes back to you
yes.
in the same manner as you pushed it. This
Yes.
is why I think it's connected to karma too,
Mm,
because
yeah.
it's a question of understanding what is it that I need to resolve, and what is it that I'm why am I exploring pain? Pain is usually some kind of projection into the future, a desire that we want to fulfill. And it's not wrong to have desires, but it's a question of what you're willing to sacrifice in order to get that desire. And if you think that you can change others in order for you to get what you want, well, then the result will not be what you want it to be. It's like, I mean, if you look at a tree, when it loses its leaves, it's not afraid. It doesn't go, oh, I have to pick up the leaves. I have to go and get leaves somewhere out there, rob someone of their leaves. It just stands there and it knows that in springtime, my leaves will be back and everything is fine. So it trusts this flow. It doesn't try to control the other trees or the flowers or whatever it is. It just waits. It stands still and waits, and everything solves itself if you do that. But I think that we live in a world where everything is in motion and everybody's pushing and pulling, and we forget what standing still and trusting, you know how they say trusting the process. I didn't like that sentence because it sounds like, yeah, trusting the process.
Right.
But trusting the process is actually about trusting this natural rhythm of everything.
Yes.
And that this too shall pass means that, yes, you are in pain right now, but it will pass. It will not stay the same. In the physical world, nothing stays the same.
Nothing.
I mean, change is the only constant. Everything else is in constant change.
Right.
So just knowing this might help us to, you know, focus ourselves in the now moment and think that, okay, if I just rest in this, it will pass. What we're doing right now in our society, we're trying to control so many things at the same time that it creates an insane world, because we're pushing and pulling and tugging and forcing. And that always comes back as a swing that is much harder than we want it to be.
Yes. 100. It's I can talk about the United States specifically about what's happening just culturally. And I don't think it's not to get into the specifics, but there is a push for one group to do something, and the group that isn't doing it doesn't want to do it. And then I'm observing and saying, what to the group that's kind of forcing or nudging or intimidating or shaming, what do you think will happen if you continue to push? Have you not thought about the pendulum swinging back to you? Do you not understand rhythm? And I don't think people are thinking about history, human nature. And I'm like, we could all love each other right now, live and let live. Everyone be at peace. Everyone hold space. Everyone. But maybe humanity is about to learn the greatest lesson of rhythm. And I hope it's done in peace and love. But if they keep pushing in fear and control, I don't know. I mean,
I know it's a question of knowing who you are. And this, I say this all the time. When you know who you are, this swing is shorter. When you don't know who you are, the swing becomes much longer. And there's always a swing between positive and negative, and it depends on how much you know who you are. When you know that you are love, which is all positive, which is all unconditional, then the swing becomes much shorter, and you can stand still in that peace, knowing that everything will be all right because you are love. But at the same time, I think that in our human nature, we are here to explore passion. We are here to explore bliss, not just love and, you know, the peace and calmness, because that is who we are. That is where we come from. So we come here on earth to explore this pendulum swinging back and forth, back and forth. The trick is to know where to allow the pendulum to swing more in order to experience, you know, the passion and the funny rush of a surprise and all the high emotions like bliss. If you don't allow the pendulum to swing a lot, then you will not explore this. But when it comes to fear, if the pendulum is long and you're experiencing fear and all the sides of fear, that becomes extremely painful. So you have to shorten the swing, go back, remember who you are, that you are loved, that who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything.
Right.
The pendulum starts swinging a little bit less, and you balance yourself and you become more calm. This happens when we go into meditation. This happens when we connect to our soul source. This happens when we have a near-death experience. And this is why we go out, let's say, after an accident, and you go, wow, this world is beautiful. Why are we fighting? Because we know who we are. The pendulum becomes shorter. It's still a rhythm. As long as we are in this world, as long as we are breathing, the rhythm of breath, the rhythm of our heart, we will explore this rhythm. It's a question of knowing when to allow the swing to become longer and when to shorten it so that we will explore calmness. But always knowing that nothing stays the same.
Right.
So that knowingness brings me calmness. When I know that nothing stays the same, everything is in constant change, I stay the same. The I am in me stays the same, and the I am in you stays the same.
Yes.
And that's enough for me, because then I know that I can't lose anyone. Everybody's here because we're all the same essence. The I am in me is the same thing as the I am in you, and it cannot be touched by anything from the outer world. So that brings me calmness every time I remember that this is who I truly am. And everything else on the outside is just change. It's just movement. It's for my amusement to look at it.
Right.
Or if I choose to fear it, it's up to me. So knowing this, I think, can help us to stay in the knowledge that we are the ocean. We are not the waves. We are not the thoughts and emotions. We are the ones exploring it. We are the ones looking at this pendulum going back and forth. We are not the pendulum itself. We are the ones looking at it. We're the ones using it in this physical reality.
And
so
I think that's the biggest, what you're saying, looking, it's observing. It's being able to detach and observe. And that, if I could bless everyone with that gift, it is detach and observe.
Yes.
But there is a minus and a positive. There's a negative and a positive at all times. At all times. It doesn't matter if there will always exist the polarity. There will always exist the rhythm. To know that is wisdom. To detach from that and observe is wisdom. To forget and jump into one and get carried on. I just think of the swing. Like, I push my kids on these swings and they're like, push harder. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just pushing them. They're flinging way up. And I'm like, wow, they don't see what's behind them. And I actually don't see what's behind me, but I know that they're going to come back to me. The harder I push, the quicker they're going to come back. Wisdom is to observe the rhythm and to detach from that energy that wants to, if you choose, if we want to go on that swing, that's great. And that's our choice. But to remember that we always have a choice also to detach and observe the rhythm.
Yes. But do you remember when you were a child and you were swinging the swing, and it was so much so that you were afraid that it will go around? So you jump off when it's at the highest point. It's like anti-gravity. You're just hanging there. But this is what meditation does to you. It allows you to jump off the swing and be in that anti-gravity place and look at the swing going back and again, and you go like, I think I'll land here, and then you land on the grass. So I really loved doing that when I was a child, because it was almost like flying, feeling the freedom of not being stuck in the swing, so to speak. So jumping off is another option, but you have to be aware and you have to choose to jump off when it becomes too much, you need to take that leap of faith and hang in the air for a while.
That's right.
Because that's the only way to detach from it's pulling you back into it. Because this pendulum, this swinging, this law of the physical reality is a part of the physical illusion that we're creating here. And illusion, I use this word not as a trick, I use it as something that changes shape and that gives us exactly what we want, but is not permanent. It is not infinite. It will change all the time. This is why I use the word illusion of this physical world, because I don't feel like you're an illusion, Lucas, or anyone else is an illusion, or my house is not an illusion. But seen from a spiritual perspective or from a higher perspective, it is an illusion because it is not forever. It is not permanent. The one that I am in me observing it is infinite and permanent and will exist forever. The same thing goes for you and everyone else watching and listening to this. But what we are doing here is not permanent. This is why this too shall pass is like a law too, because it will not stay the same. So detaching from the swing we're on right now and hanging in the air, looking at it and saying, I leave it at that.
That's right. And I shall land.
Yes, and be good.
That's so good. That is so good. We were talking last night about this last stand and different things. And I said, I think intentionally they have made history boring. And
yes.
It's unfortunate people don't study history. They don't read it because they made it so boring. When in reality, we're talking about other human beings and their emotions and their experiences and like, what was that like? And can you imagine being there at that moment and making those decisions? And the adage, I forget who said it, but those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. And I thought, I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, that's also rhythm, meaning it's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. It's just rhythm. And
absolutely, without a doubt, like a clock going on like this.
Right.
But it's also a question of what we're focused on, because as a child, I remember, why am I reading about wars all the time?
Exactly.
What is this? Why do I have to remember who won this war and who won that war? Why do I need to remember this? Because the winners write the history. And I don't know what history is. It's not about, putting down facts of how people lived. It's more about this king won and this king won, and here we have a border, and there's a border, and these people died because of these people, and these one invaded. And I'm like, what is history? What is this?
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about here is the belief systems that we are creating in the society, and what belief system was more dominant than the other, and that was the system that stayed with us. I was looking at pictures from, I think it was 1901 or something like that. No, 1917 from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And the buildings, they were amazing. And I was thinking, what kind of people build this kind of buildings? What kind of belief systems are they using here? Because it's not the same belief systems as we have. Because they are focused on abundance, they're focused on beauty, they're focused on the Fibonacci spiral and how that works.
Yes.
And when I look at the buildings that we're building today, we're building boxes, like shoe boxes, only bigger, and we're living in that. And I'm thinking, there is a shift in belief systems, but nowhere in the history books will I be able to read when we shifted from that way of thinking to something else. I will know about the wars, but I will not know how it changed people's experiences and how it changed people's belief systems about this world. And we are building this world with our belief systems. The beliefs are building blocks in this world. So I'm very interested in this, and nobody talks about that. We call it culture, or we call it kind of change in this reality, but you can't read about it in the history books
or feel it, and connect to it. Yeah, right. Right.
because we're looking at it from our perspective. I mean, if I look at the Egyptians, I would go, why would they do something like that? Because I
Mm,
come from another place. My belief system doesn't allow me to see the world they saw the world. Maybe they were more free than I was. How do I know? We're
yeah.
talking about slaves everywhere. How do I know that it actually was this way? How do I know that?
Right.
And of course, it becomes really painful to read just about the wars, and it
Yes.
looks like there is a rhythm in the
Yes.
wars, and
Yes.
it probably is because there is rhythm in everything.
Yeah.
But why is that more important than everything else? Well, that's a question we I don't think we will ever answer it in my lifetime. I don't think we will answer that question.
Well,
Why are the wars more important than everything else?
I I have a theory. I like to reverse words. So evil is live,
Mm-hmm.
devil is lived, dog is God. That I think that
Mm-hmm.
and what is a dog is man's best friend, but is an unconditionally loving being, regardless of what you
Mm-hmm.
do. That dog, that creature shows you love.
Mm-hmm.
So war is raw. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the teaching of war makes us raw in our very core, in our soul. It does something to us that there is a power and a force greater than our individual observation and choosing. And it
Mm-hmm.
creates fear from the very earliest stage, even though it's subtle and we don't feel fear. Like when I read history, I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel the fear, but it does create a rawness in us, and
Mm-hmm.
not a vulnerable choosing, not an empowered exploration, but I'm at any time this could happen again. And what do I need? And let's brace for ourselves. And I think that's intentional. I think the teaching of war, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to, let me give an example. When I was a TV reporter and I was down in San Antonio at the Fox affiliate down there, I had a segment every night, the same time, every single night, people would tune in. And it was called The Night Shift. And it was supposed to be about culture and the fun stuff, and celebrities would come through and entertainment. But I started telling these heartwarming, like very beautiful, touching stories, like really touching. And they said, this doesn't fit the segment. You
Mm-hmm.
have to do funny entertainment, culture. And I said, then change the name of the segment. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
what? I remember like I had a battle with my news director, and it was like their gears were changing. Like, I'm not going to change my story. You change the name of the segment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
they created a new segment for me, and it was called Positive Spin with Lucas Mack, where I went out and told beautiful stories. And I thought, how crazy is it that the news couldn't even like get their minds around telling something beautiful, and people loved it. And I helped a lot. I mean, just beautiful things came from telling these beautiful stories. But I remember thinking, change the name of the segment. I'm not going to stop telling
Absolutely.
beautiful stories.
You know, I just thought about this while we were talking about this because such a beautiful story of the habitual way of creating this reality, not questioning it, just going and doing it the same way you've been doing it all the time,
Yeah.
pouring out the fear or whatever it is. But you know why good things are not news? Because they're happening everywhere all the time.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. That's
We
right.
don't, all we see when we look at news is the bad stuff that is happening because it's not happening everywhere and all the time. So of course they will call that the news, but it's not the news. And
Mm,
what you were talking about, the going into this fear, if you do not understand this rhythm and that everything shall pass and that everything comes and goes like flood and ebb, then you think that this fear is real and it's the only reality. You will stay in this fear forever and you
mm,
stay connected to it, which means that if we would speak my language here, the frequency that you send out will be manifested in this formless intelligence out there, and it will give you exactly what you are focused on. So
mm.
you're actually going against this rhythm that is there underneath the surface if you're focused on only the negative stuff, only the fear, only the problems that are out there, which media, social media, and every other media outlet out there will try to focus you on because that is where your attention goes. Well, where your attention goes, energy flows and reality is created.
That's right.
So to follow the real rhythm, as I said, if a tree would be fearful because it lost all its leaves, it will never have leaves again, because it will stay in a frequency which will not allow it to have more leaves. That means that it will die.
Yeah.
But it trusts that, okay, in the springtime, my leaves will be back again. And it focuses away from the fear, so to speak. It doesn't allow its attention to go there. The same thing goes with us. I know it sounds crazy. I talk about trees and attention, but it's an analogy to understand that if we stay in a certain frequency, that frequency becomes what the quantum field out there is connecting to, and it will give us back that. We stagnate into this. This is a stagnation. If you're not exploring joy and sadness, fear and love in your life, then it's stagnated. It's a flat line. You have no heartbeats.
Right.
So it is a natural part of the human experience to have both rise and fall, heartbeat and no heartbeat, breath and no breath. It's a part of being human, and trusting that every single thing will go back to its normal state of being, riding the wave instead of being it. So I think that just knowing this law, understanding that there is a rhythm in everything. Of course, the rhythm differs. I mean, the planets go around the sun 365 days for Earth to do that. So that rhythm it's 365 days long,
Right.
a day and a night, 24 hours long. So we have these cycles, and they're all intertwined with each other. And this is what becomes this reality, the intertwined energy of all these cycles going on and on and on. And we're part of that. We have free will, so we change some of them, but we can't change all of them. And this is how we create this reality. Not knowing this, thinking that we're separate from everything and that we're not affected by anything and that the emotions are who we are, this creates a world of insanity.
Yes.
So I think it's so important to understand when we're talking about this, that everything is energy. There's emotion in everything. There is a polarity in everything. And we are the ones observing this pendulum going back and forth. And the more we know who we are, the pendulum becomes less violent and we can become more calm in this. And it's about finding small things that will help you soothe yourself when you're down. And when you're up, then enjoy by all means every joyous thing that you're experiencing there. Don't be afraid that, oh, if I enjoy this, then the universe will give me back pain. It won't. There will be a fall again and a rise, a fall and a rise. That's how we explore this reality. The funny rush of a surprise. That's what we're here to explore.
That I was thinking, we talked last week about the fulcrum point where there's very little shift, but then I forget what they're called, but all the weighted balls that are on string, you move 3 and it hits the 2 and it just keeps going. But you can leave the 1 in the middle and move the 2 and it will hit the 1 and it will move the 2. And you can move so that 1 always can stay centered. And I've been thinking about that so much, about this rhythm and polarity and cadence. And when and I was thinking, well, what does that feel like to be hit? But I really think it's surrender and let it flow through. Surrender and let it flow through and be in the stillness. And if we are surrendered in our power, minute we go with it and resist it, we go with the others. But when we're in surrender and flow, it can pass through us.
Yes, exactly. Because the pendulum in the middle is the one that is standing still. And it's also the one that is balancing it all. And that is the I am in you. That is the stillness in you. Everything will be moving back and forth. It's by being present in the now moment and understanding that is your power. That is where you're not moving. You're the stillness. So everything else is moving, and you allow that movement through you.
Mm.
Allowing the movement through you by knowing, by trusting this rhythm, that it is
Yes.
okay. Sometimes you will be a little bit hit, but it will go the other way, and then you'll be hit again, but you'll stay intact.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You'll always stay intact if you understand this rhythm and allowing it to be what it is, just resting in it and breathing in it. Sometimes we need to push things, smaller things in our reality. And
Mm.
it's okay, because that's how we explore the passion.
Yes.
You push something, it gives you back something, there's joy, and then you start pushing something else and it gives you something and it's joy. It's when we get stuck in this, when we think that we have to push our way through life, like Sisyphus pushing this,
Right.
the stone up the
Yes.
hill, and thinking that this is who we are. This is how we become slaves under that. We
Mm.
become slaves under our own ego, because this pendulum doesn't just go, plus and minus. It goes from
Yes. Yes.
ego, soul in every now moment.
Yes.
And the more you allow it to be pulled by the ego, it becomes really hard. So allowing it to go back, ego, soul, and then becoming more and more in your soul space, using your ego in order to explore the small pushes in
Yes.
reality.
Yes.
It's about knowing what to do with it and understanding the nature of the obstacle in front of you. Sometimes it seems very big, and then when you go through it, it's not as big. But if you would have allowed yourself to be pulled by that pendulum into the pain, you might be staying in it for too long, and it, even if it was an illusion of it being big, it will seem bigger to you while you're in it.
Yes.
So just allowing yourself to know that sometimes I can go with this flow. I can allow it to be what it is, not push, not do anything, just wait,
Mm.
because time will always allow it to change. And
Yes.
if you're in the right frequency, it will change it for your benefit. Always. The
Always.
universe works for you and through you,
Yes.
not against you.
Always. Always.
Yes, I
Always.
know that.
It's what we're talking about. And everyone, first of all, thank you so much for listening and watching these. We are teaching and talking about how to be a human.
Yes.
This is how to be a human, to detach and observe, to play, to push, to create, to feel, to move. And humanity, I believe, is forgotten what it is to be human, how to feel, how to detach, how to look, how to empathize, how to have compassion, how to have passion, how to articulate, how to listen. I mean,
Mm,
these are like the most basic human gifts
mm.
that we have.
Yes.
And we've
Yes.
forgotten. Everyone's saying the media push to be non
Mm,
above the tide, not to be above the water. It's like,
mm,
it's just, this is humanity. What we're talking about,
mm-hmm.
the rhythm, the observing. I was thinking about the tree analogy when you're saying the trees lose their leaves. And for a second, that's like getting off the swing, the leaf's
Yes.
free and it falls, but eventually it hits the ground and returns back to the nutrients of that tree.
Mm-hmm.
It never
Uh,
really leaves.
no, also, it might look like the leaves are not there, but if you come close, you will see that there are new leaves already starting.
Yes.
There is no, there is no separation. There is
Yeah.
no break. That
Right.
everything is always flowing. There is no break in it. It just
Right.
looks like it, but it's not. It's always flowing. The life force is always there. Even when it looks like death, it's still a life force in it. I was thinking about this pendulum because it is in the physical world that this pendulum goes back and forth. And in the spiritual realm, you are the stillness looking at this movement always. But I sense that I think that there is a pendulum going on a much bigger scale too, because there has to be a pre-life and then you're born into this life, and then you
Yes.
die, and it's afterlife.
Yes.
And then again, pre-life,
Yes.
born, life, afterlife. It's a pendulum, it's a cyclic thing going on. It's the karma,
Yes.
the cyclic thing going on here. So as soon as you are entering this life, the pre-life and life, you are in this pendulum, this movement, this rhythm with which you are one. And you have to be able to understand when to push, when to pull, when to stop, when to breathe, when to do things, and not allow fear and ego, which is so small in comparison to all that is,
Right.
to guide you, to be the thing that creates your reality. So just knowing that if you're exploring fear, this too shall pass.
Yes.
It is just the leaves falling off, but the life force is still there, and it will continue. You will not die from it. Die in quotation marks, because that's how it feels like when we're in fear. Sometimes something will die inside of us.
Yes.
It won't. Just trusting the waves, knowing that you're the ocean. These are just waves. Enjoying being that ocean.
In Judaism, they talk about the 3 states of the soul before the body, the soul in the body, and the soul after the body. Exactly what you said, that there's always 3 states. And in the body, we have free will to choose whatever we want to explore. And then when we leave the body, review it. What did we do? And religion has hijacked so much great teachings, just as politics and medicine and education, everything gets hijacked. But if we can just detach for a moment and see this rhythm and look at and ask ourselves, what do we want to explore? You talk about this so often. What did I come to explore? What is this? I think we will have so much more peace, because we'll understand that any time we can jump out of the current, at any time we are not stuck in the rhythm of left or right. It could be forwards or backwards. It could be interdimensional rhythm. It's not just the 3D rhythm. There is a quantum rhythm also happening. You look here and it's here. You look here and it's there. It's always happening, even beyond our ability to understand, but we can explore this.
Absolutely. We are here to explore this polarity. And this is why there is this pendulum, this rhythm with which we can use it in order to ease our journey here. And if we're not aware of it, well, then it becomes, random. You feel like life is random. Everything that's happening is random. I mean, it took me so many years to understand my own body as a woman, because I didn't understand the cycles. I did not understand how to look at this. I know that many women that are watching this, they don't teach you in school how to understand your own body, to understand what is going on with your body. I think that both men and women follow this cycle. Only with women, it's very, very tangible. I mean, you can see it. It is bleeding and not bleeding, and it's much more tangible. Men go through the same thing, but do you hear this anywhere? You have to figure it out for yourself. You have to start thinking, why is my body feeling so strange? Why am I down? Well, you're going through a cycle, and this is because if you don't explore the down and the ups, you stagnate. There is no growth in just being in one state of being. This you come here to explore the growth, to explore the contrast, to explore how it feels not to be totally, utterly happy and satisfied. So you're here to explore the pendulum going into the negative.
Right.
But if you think that when you're there in the negative swing, so to speak, and they convince you that this is reality, the news tells you that life is horrible on earth, you stay there. That's stagnation. That is to go against the current. That is to go against this flow, this natural cyclic flow of consciousness here. It's the same thing, like, let's say that you're born into an abusive family, and you are, your mother is dominating you, or your father is dominating you. And that's the blueprint that you're taught. This is how life works. So when you grow up, you decide that I will never dominate anyone. I will be so kind and I will be so loving that I will never dominate anyone. This is the pendulum going over to the other side, which allows others to use you, which allows others to mistreat you. You need to see the contrast and then allow the pendulum to come to the middle, where you can say, okay, this is who I am. I am kind and loving, but I have boundaries. I do not need to please everyone. Because if you are in that pendulum where you go the other way, you stay in that state, and it becomes this stagnation. It becomes death. It doesn't allow you to explore life, because you will be mistreated by everyone around you. So this pendulum, this rhythm, can be applied to anything. Even when you look back in your past and you look at yourself, and how am I dealing with reality right now? Am I just repeating my parents' behavior, only the contrast of it? Or am I being myself? Am I really being who I am, in who I was supposed to be when I was born into this reality? So just realizing this rhythm and understanding it, and just saying, okay, where's the middle here? Where can I find myself? Breathing, stopping, allowing the thoughts to go down into your heart so that you will feel better.
I learned a lesson early on in therapy, because I was exactly what you just said. You know this very well. We've talked about it a lot. And I remember walking, I left our house and I was just struggling, and all the abuse was coming up, and all the trauma and all the fear and all the confusion and all my life and all my decisions. And I walked for 4 miles, and I ended up at this grocery store. But before I got there, I had this vision of myself that I was like a golden retriever, that I kept putting my back on the ground, and I would get bit by other dogs, and I would be like, what are you doing? I'm not going to hurt you. So I would even go deeper into the ground if I could, like all my energy, and I kept getting bit. And when I went to therapy, the therapist said, you need to learn healthy aggression. And I was like, healthy aggression? Because I grew up in all aggression. I didn't want any aggression, but then I was a victim to, exactly what you said. I was on this other side. And he said, the dog bares its teeth before it bites to let you know you have hit a boundary. He said, is that not kind? I'm like, he goes, what if the dog just bit you? That's a crazy dog. No one keeps that type of dog. But the dog that bares its teeth is saying, this is the line. And when he said that, like something in my mind clicked, like it was like kind of not connected, like two Lego pieces, like clicked together. At that point, I realized at any time I create my own rhythm too, meaning someone can push and I can decide, do I want that to go through me and I can get carried with their rhythm? Or can I say, this is not the rhythm that you're bringing to me. I will create a counter rhythm to you. And it becomes a dance. And when we understand that this is a dance, that we are in this flow, that we're not victim to just getting pushed, and like, we're not a buoy in the water, just like everywhere. We're on the wave if we so choose, and we can ride this. That was one of the most empowering visions and analogies and metaphors and all the things that I have taken with me, that to bare your teeth in healthy aggression is love. In that
Yes, it's a question of knowing who you are and what you want in this reality without hurting the other one. It is about putting this boundary there. And as I say, if you allow yourself to be on the other side of that pendulum, you will continue to not put the boundaries out there because you think that that's the opposite to what your father or mother or whoever it was did to you. So understanding that the balance is in the middle, that's how you find who you truly are, not to reject all the negative stuff and just pull over to the other side and say, I'm so kind, anyone can do whatever they want with me.
Exactly.
Because that is self-abuse.
Yes,
so
that's not kind to yourself. Right?
Yes, it's like going with the pendulum over to self-abuse. Someone else is abusing you, now you're abusing yourself, but it's still abuse. It's the pendulum of abuse.
Right.
Balancing it in the middle and saying, no, that's not what we're doing. I will lovingly say no to you.
Yes.
This is why I always talk about that. Unconditional love does not mean that you allow everything and everyone to do whatever they want in your life because you are unconditionally loving everyone. It's about putting out a boundary sometimes. It's about saying no to someone. It's about saying here, but no further.
Yes.
Because we're talking about the rhythm, but we also talk about frequencies in this energy. And the frequency, as you said, if I allow myself to be pulled, then you are creating a reality in the wrong frequency. You're no longer in your own flow. You're in someone else's flow. And that's not your life. That's not who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to stay in your own frequency. Where do you find your own frequency? Well, not in the reaction. This is a signal, how to change it. It's about being so conscious and present in the now moment that every action is a conscious thing, not a reaction to someone else. Because a reaction is someone else's pendulum hitting you and you react and you hit back and then you're in the same rhythm as they are. It's not your own pendulum, staying in your own flow, understanding that it will always lead you right when you go back into your own calmness.
Okay, so in that, in reversal of words again, what we don't say no to is left on. And in the people pleaser pendulum, we are not saying no to anything or anyone. So then we just keep leaving on their cycles, whatever it is, the rhythm of abuse, the rhythm of being taken advantage of, the rhythm of fear and cowardice or whatever it is. So we, as sovereign beings, as whole souls in this human experience, get to practice saying no so that when we do say yes, it means something. If it's like telling, we marry, you and I, we married the love of our lives. But if I was like, I'm in love with you and I'm in love with you, well, it would mean nothing to tell my wife that I'm in love with you. So we have to learn to say no so that we can say yes. And what we don't say no to is left on.
Absolutely. It's about integrity. In this stillness, there is natural integrity. There's natural courage. There's always a balance, and we know what we need to do because we are grounded in ourselves, so to speak. We are not allowing others to pull us in all the direction. It's the pulling and tugging from the outside world that creates mayhem within us because we do not understand what is ours and what is others. For me, and why we're talking about this rhythm today is because when I understand that everything comes and goes like waves on the water, the only thing that remains is the I am in me, observing it. This means that if I don't need to be too attached, I don't need to fear every time I lose something because I know that it will be replaced with something else. Of course, I can't say these things when it comes to human beings. When it comes to something that I love, like a pet or a friend or my son or my husband, and it doesn't apply to that because of course we will feel pain if something goes wrong there. But what I'm talking about is everyday things, the things that we fret about, the things that we allow ourselves to be stressed out for, the petty things in reality. it doesn't matter if you do not focus on it. It will not become matter in your reality if you do not give it attention, if you do not allow the pendulum to swing. If you ask yourself, why do I want to react to this? Why am I reacting to this? The answer will always be, if you're honest with yourself, it is my ego craving energy. It is my ego craving drama. It is my ego craving some entertainment,
Yes.
be it a negative or a positive one. But if you don't want that, if you want to stay in your soul space, you can always say, okay, I hear you, ego, but not right now. We will rest here.
Yes. The when you think of someone and they call you all of a sudden, you have that like, oh, I was just thinking of you, and they call you.
Mm-hmm.
It also works in a different aspect where someone can pop into your mind that you don't want to have contact with. And you have to that thought, because that's a connection point where we could attach, and this happens to me quite often actually, is say no.
Mm-hmm.
No. And then it goes away. But sometimes it knocks on the door and you have to say no. Mm-hmm. Or if it's what you want, then all of a sudden they'll call you and like, oh, hey, I was just thinking about you, or we were just talking, like that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes if we're not aware of us saying no to certain things, mm-hmm. then we are just always in the reaction, and we don't have to be, because being in the reaction isn't in rhythm either, because we have to take action on what we do want. Mm-hmm. And it all comes back to us being the observer, and us detaching, and us choosing what we do want in this reality.
Yeah, for me, it's like a visualization I do every time I feel overwhelmed by, either thinking about things that I don't want to have in my reality, or things happening around me. I visualize myself standing very, very still, and everything moving very fast past me like this. And I'm just standing there and allowing things to move. And I think this too shall pass. And it takes me just a few seconds, and then it's still in my head. If I say this too shall pass, I trust that everything will be okay. And it always is.
Yes.
This too shall pass. I trust that everything will be okay. And I just breathe in and out. Breathing in and out puts me in the right rhythm.
Yeah.
It brings me to my own rhythm, listening to my heartbeats, and while I'm breathing, listening how they are slowing down. And I remember who I am. And then I can say, this too shall pass. Everything is okay. And I stand in this stillness, even though things are still moving somewhere there, but it's okay. And I allow it to be. And if I have to do this 10 times every hour, I will do it 10 times every hour, because I am the one choosing the frequency that I'm in. Sometimes it's much tougher. Sometimes I do it once a week, sometimes once a day, sometimes 10 times an hour. It depends on where I am in this pendulum. So knowing, trusting that whatever it is that is stressing you out right now will pass. Without a doubt, it will pass.
Yes.
That's the true nature of this reality. Everything passes.
So beautiful. This has been a really, really beautiful live.
Is it already an hour?
It's an hour.
I cannot understand. It's like being abducted. Time goes like this.
That's awesome. It is. What a great abduction it is.
Yes, beautiful abduction.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and thanks for the comments. And we're going to keep doing these beautiful ones. We got another great one next Sunday. It's going to be beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.